Hey everybody, it's Tyler Horvath with Titan Media. We got a new video for you today. We are going to be going over the Google Search Console. This is the ultimate guide. We have a lot of good information on why you should be using the Google Search Console and how to use it and all the pieces that make it what it is. So let's get started. So here's the agenda for this video. We're going to do some introductions. We're going to go over what is the Google Search Console. We're going to talk about why you should be using it. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how to use it. And we're going to go over all the pieces that make up the Google Search Console or the Google Webmaster Tools. So let's get started. My name is Tyler Horvath. I'm the CEO of Titan Media. We're a web design and online marketing agency in Kansas City. We got our links here to our Facebook and LinkedIn and Google, Twitter. If you want to give us a follow, we're always putting out good content about web design and SEO and online marketing. So check us out. So what is the Google Search Console? Google Webmaster Tools, some people call it the Google Search Console. It's kind of the updated name for it now that Google recently changed it to. It's a free service offered by Google that helps you monitor and maintain your website's online presence in the Google search results. So why do you want to use Google Search Console? Well, the Google Search Console provides a huge list of tools that you can use to monitor and optimize your website's performance in Google search. Now, this is a really big list of things, but there's even more reasons that we haven't even put on here that that make this tool provided by Google so great. So, as far as website optimization goes, Google Search Console allows Google to access the content you want them to access. You can submit certain pieces of content that you want to be indexed, and you can hide certain pieces of content that you don't want people to see. You're able to submit new content for Google to crawl and index, usually using a sitemap, but we'll go over all that later. You can also remove content that you don't want to be crawled or indexed. If you notice that private pages are being indexed in Google, you can use this tool to hide them so people aren't accessing those. You can use Google Webmaster Tools to scan and fix malware on your website. You can submit an XML sitemap so that Google is aware of all the pages that you have on your website that you want to be indexed. You can review recommended HTML improvements, and you can also monitor any security issues that you have on your website. You can also track a lot of your website's performance inside of Google Search Console. You can view a lot of search keywords that you're ranking for Google Search. This is probably one of the most important pieces of the Google Search Console, and we'll get in depth with that in a little bit. You can monitor rich snippets and structured data. You can view backlinks that are pointing to your website and how many of them, who's pointing to your website, and where. You can monitor the performance of your mobile website and see how that is, how the speed of that is, and how the user experience is. You can view how much the Google bots are crawling your website, and you can see any errors that the crawl bots have found when they were accessing your site. So who should use Google Search Console? I think that anyone who has a website should have Google Search Console. It's definitely a huge positive in a lot of pieces of being a website owner. And you can see a lot of very important information and data about your website and your users and how they find you online. So I think that Google Search Console is important for business owner. Any business owner that has a website should be using this free service. It can give business owners vital information on how their visitors are reaching their site and monitor any potential spam and security issues that you might find. It's also good for SEO specialists. The term SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and it's the methodology of gaining position in the search engines to increase traffic to your website. SEO specialists should use the Google Search Console to see incoming backlinks from link building. You can view content keywords, and you can even monitor the performance of your keywords and how much they've moved up in the rankings, what their click-through rate is, etc. Using this tool in conjunction with Google Adwords and Analytics can provide a sophisticated look at your online presence in the search engines, mainly specifically Google. It is also great for website administrators. They need to be able to monitor their website daily for their clients or for their business, and this tool just does just that. It provides a great analysis of security issues, select site loading issues, and any malware that could have been found on your site. And lastly, the Search Console is great for web developers because you can monitor common markup issues such as duplicate meta descriptions, duplicate titles, errors in your structured data, or even HTML errors. So let's start getting into all the pieces of Google Search Console and how to use it to its full potential. First, just sign up for free at Google Search Console. If you're watching the video, you probably won't be able to click on this link, but just Google Search Console, and you'll find it. Should be the first one. So once you're all signed up and in the Google Search Console, click Add a Property, and you'll see this pop-up show up here where you add the URL to your website, and then click Add. And one more thing to add here about the about putting your website into Google Search Console. It's important that you add every single version of your website to the Google Search Console so you can tell them which version you prefer. So what I mean is you have a non-secure version and a secure version. You have a version without the www dot, and all these should be added into your Google Search Console. And once you add all them, you can go to, for example, with Titan Media, we prefer HTTPS, and you actually can't even get to the HTTP version because it forwards. But we prefer the HTTPS version, so we've added all the different versions. We added HTTP, www, and we've added without the www. And once you've added all those, you can set the preferences in your settings to just forward or tell Google to prefer that it's whatever your certain URL that you prefer is. So once you add your website to the Google Webmaster Tools, now they will make you verify that you actually own that website. There's 5 ways that that you can do this through Google Search Console, and we've listed them here. You can use your Google Analytics account. If you already have Google Analytics installed on your website, then you can select this option, and it will just look at your UID from Google Analytics, and that will be able to confirm with them that this is actually your website. You can do an HTML file upload, and what that is they'll just create a blank HTML file with the file name is a certain code, and you save that, upload it to your document root, and you can verify that you own that website by uploading that file to the server. Definitely not the easiest option because you have to connect to FTP, etc. The next one is the domain name provider. They now allow you to just sign in to your domain name provider to prove that you own that domain name. So if you got your domain name through GoDaddy, you could just sign in to that and verify it that way. You can do the same thing with the Google Tag Manager account. If you have Google Tag Manager on your website, you can just verify using those tags. The way that we prefer is the HTML tag. Most of our websites are WordPress, so it's very easy to just quickly add the HTML tag into the header.php file in WordPress in your template, and should take about 5 to 10 seconds to verify the site that way. Another great way, if you're using WordPress, to verify your site is to use the Yoast SEO plugin. You can just put your code in there, and it will just automatically add that to the header, just like if you were to do it manually. And that's how you verify that you own the certain website that you're submitting to Google. So once you verify your website, the first thing that we usually do is submit the XML sitemap of your website. It is very important to do this because this tells Google what all your pages are. Depending on how good your internal linking structure is on your website, Google may not be able to crawl all the pages. So submitting a sitemap tells Google all the pages of your website and their priority, how important they are, and how often those pages are changed. So as far as creating your XML sitemap, if you're on a WordPress site, there's a ton of good plugins that you can download that automatically create the XML sitemap for you. We put a link here to a good plugin that we use that creates sitemaps for your website automatically. Now, if you don't have WordPress or you're on a custom developed site or whatever, there's also XML sitemap generators that you can download that will just crawl your website through internal linking and map out all the pages and create a sitemap, an XML sitemap for you. We've put a link to one here that's a good free service. I think there's a maximum on it of 50,000 URLs or something. So if you have a bigger site than that, then you'll have to probably get the free or the paid version of it and do it that way. So as far as finding the sitemap section, if you just go into the left sidebar menu in Google Webmaster Tools and select crawl, you'll see a sub menu there for sitemaps, and that's where you go to submit your sitemap to Google. And if you're looking for walkthroughs on how to do all these things in Google Webmaster Tools, just subscribe to our video channel or check out our other videos. We have walkthroughs on how to do all this stuff in Google Webmaster Tools. So next is structured data. Structured data is somewhat new. It's text-based markup that helps search engines organize your content with data-rich snippets in your HTML. So structured data is a way to tell Google or other search engines and even social media sites what your content is and important pieces of your content that that they use to provide a better user experience for their users. So when you include this type of data on your website, you both increase your SEO because you're going to get a higher click-through rate in the search engine results pages. Like if you look at this example here, where we search for what is Google Webmaster Tools, you see this little snippet here that we've outlined in red from Wikipedia, where it just gets out that little tiny rich snippet and tells you the answer to your question without even having to click on the link to the page. So these are called rich results. They're structured data for things like articles, videos, and recipes. They enhance the display of your website in Google search, and they increase its CTR, which in turn will increase its SEO and move it up in the search engines. There's also knowledge graph cards, and they're a way for Google to interconnect search results, combining facts, people, places, and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you've seen an example of it when you search for a person, like for example Abraham Lincoln, and you see in the right sidebar they have a whole little area dedicated to Abraham Lincoln with all of his links and Wikipedia and images and dates and facts and all sorts of stuff. And those are knowledge graph cards, and those are found on websites that use structured data to explain anything like a business, articles, what a person, it could be anything. And Google itself has a really good structured data testing tool that allows you to test the markup on your pages and see if there's any errors or if your structured data is structured correctly. And it's a very good tool. You should use it on all the pages that you're adding structured data to, just to make sure that there aren't any errors and that Google is reading your data right. So getting deeper into structured data, there are things called rich cards. They're introduced in May 2016, so they're really, really new. But I think they're going to be a big piece in SEO, and they're going to be very important things for website owners to have on their website in order to provide a better user experience for users. They're similar to rich snippets in that they use structured markup to display content in a more engaging way, which creates a better user experience in Google. Currently, they're only available, or this type of data is only available on the 4 content types that we have listed here: articles, recipes, reviews, and videos. And this image here shows you an example of some of these rich cards. You see them a lot with recipes. It's just kind of a little card that is kind of stuffed with some good data, kind of about, it could be calories in a meal or prep time or how long it takes to cook. Just search for your favorite recipes and you'll see this data that's presented in this cool way. And you can now view and manage your rich cards in the Google Search Console. If Google has crawled your website and found rich cards, then you'll see this data in Google Webmaster Tools. Just click on Search Appearance in the left menu, and then the submenu is Rich Cards. And just click on that, and you will see any of the errors or invalid cards that you have on your website. It's very important to keep up with this data and constantly check Google Webmaster Tools and see if everything is working correctly. It can have a strong impact on your rankings in Google and your click-through rate to your website in Google. So that's rich cards. So the data highlighter is a great way to test out, or to if you don't have structured data on your website, or you're not able to put structured data on your website, then you can use the data highlighter in Google Search Webmaster Tools. Just in the left menu, click the search appearance, and then click data highlighter, and this little pop-up here will come up, and what you put in here is a URL to a typical piece of content on your site that you're looking to highlight. So for example, if you have a blog site or a WordPress site with articles on it, you would add a URL to any random article in this box here. and click on the type of information to highlight drop down and select article, and click tag this page and others like it, and it will crawl your site and find all the other similar pieces of content, and make you go through a tagging process so it can better understand how your content is formatted. So just go through each page, selecting the piece of content, or selecting each piece of information and what it is, and Google will automatically find those similar pieces of content and kind of gather its own structured data so that it can present it to you in the back, as well as present it to users in the search engine results pages. So here's a look of what it looks like when you're tagging your site. It likes to know the title, the date, who wrote it, what category, and even it likes to know the ratings. So if you have a product and it has ratings on it, you can select this data, and that will make it appear in the Google search. I'm sure you've seen when you search for a product, you see the stars under it. It'll add that to your listing in Google search, and that is a really great way to get more traffic from the search engines and increase your CTR to your website, in turn increasing your SEO. So the HTML improvements section shows you all the errors, suggestions, etc. in your HTML. It checks for potential issues with duplicate meta tags. So if you have 2 pages with the same meta title tag, it will tell you, and it's a great way to keep up on the HTML on-page SEO side of your website. And if you don't have any errors, then we'll show you a nice message that everything is all good, and that you don't need to make any improvements. So just keep an eye on this section every once in a while, and make sure that you don't have any errors. And if you do, just fix them. So the next piece, and probably the most important piece, is the search analytics. This is a section where you can analyze your performance in Google search results, and you can see all your keywords and how you're ranking in Google. So if your site is not completely brand new, you'll see a list of keywords that you are already ranking for. It is possible that if your site is old and you don't have any, that is possible too. If your site's blocked or for whatever reason, you're not indexed in Google. And in the table, you can see clicks. That's the amount of clicks that you've received from Google for that certain keyword. And impressions is the amount of views that your listing received. So, for example, if you look at our photo here of some of our rankings from a long time ago, if someone searched for analytics and they happen to view our site but not click on it, then we would get 1 impression. And that's how you calculate the next one, click-through rate. That's the amount of clicks you've got from the amount of impressions that you had on that ad or on the listing. The position is the current position that you are in Google for that certain keyword. Now the position, it's not super accurate. It can say that your position is 1 or 2 when really you won't be able to find it. I believe that it uses Google Images rankings as well. So this is more of just a guideline, the position piece. But the clicks and impressions is pretty accurate. So that's search analytics. So there's a section for removing URLs. It's a really great way to remove URLs from Google that you don't want to be found anymore or indexed in Google. For example, if you changed a URL to a new page and you have been redirecting it for a while and you're ready to remove the old page from Google search results, you can come here, put in the URL, and remove that from the search results, so it will no longer be found. So in the Google Index drop-down, select Remove URLs, and you'll be brought to this page. Enter in whether you want it to be a temporary hide or a permanent one, and enter in the URL and click Submit, and it will come up with here where you can submit the request. When you click that, you will see the URL appear in the table below with the status of the page. Once you see that it's been removed from the search results in that table, then you can go and actually delete the page from your website. But be sure to keep any 301 redirects that you have to the new page there. So if someone does try and manually access that URL or they had it bookmarked, that it will also forward those people back to the new URL. So next in the crawl section, we have the crawl stats. This section gives you a good insight on how much Google is crawling your website per day. You can also see information like how long it takes Google to download pages, and how many pages it's done, etc. I think the most important graph is the pages crawled per day. It gives you a good idea of how often Google is returning to your site and crawling it. Usually is equivalent to the popularity and authority of your site. So keep producing good content that Google likes and will crawl, and this will keep getting higher and higher. So the next piece is the crawl errors. This is another good section to keep an eye on every once in a while. When Google crawls your site, it looks for errors, and it saves those errors and puts them in here for you to view yourself. So there's two types of errors that Google will give you. One is site errors. If Google can't access your website entirely, then you'll see site errors. If it can access your website fine, there's just certain pages that are erroring out or giving certain HTTP error codes like 404 or whatever, then it will give you this information here. So just keep an eye on this. Make sure that there's no crawl errors. Google doesn't like websites that have a bunch of crawl errors. They like the green check boxes. So keep an eye on it and fix anything that comes up over time. And that's the crawling section. So the fetch as Google section, it's a great way to provide webmasters a way to see how Google is rendering your pages. It's also a really good way to get pages of your website indexed in Google almost instantaneously. So pretty much what this tool is it's a way for you to say, hey Google, come bring your Google bots to this page and right now and check it out and index it. So what you do is go to Appearance in the left side menu and do Fetch as Google, and you'll see this page where your URL is already in there, and all you have to add is the last piece of the URL. So don't put your domain in there again or it'll give you an error. Just make sure it's the link to the sub. subpage. So you can also choose how you want Google bots to access your site, whether you want it to be accessing it from a desktop or mobile. And then when you're ready, click Fetch. And you will see a pop-up that's asks you how to submit your website, whether you want to crawl just this URL or whether you want it to crawl this URL and all of the direct links. So what that means is it will not only crawl the URL that you told them to fetch, but it will follow any links on that page, whether they're outgoing or internal links. It will follow those as well. And it only lets you do this 50 times a month, I believe. So if it's a really big huge piece of content that you know has a lot of internal links to your other pages, or that you know is going to provide a lot of authority, then use crawl this URL and its direct links. If it's just a normal article or website news or whatever, and you want it to get indexed, then just click crawl only this URL. So that's Google Webmaster Tools. We went over a lot of great ways to use it, why you need it, who should be using it, and all the little pieces that go into Google Webmaster Tools. Thanks for watching my video. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. We're always putting out new stuff. And also be sure to follow us on all these social media sites. And have a great day.